Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new session that will be hosted by Eurostampa. We have some amazing speakers today. We kindly ask you to be patient. We wait for some more minutes just to have more people in the webinar room. We will start in 5 minutes. Thank you. I still you a couple of minutes that we are waiting, simply to share with you that for the information we have from the system, yesterday we had an attendance of the webinars from 1,300 people. So we hope to replicate the success. We are broadcasting more or less 24 hours live. The virtual fair started yesterday and will finish tonight. So we are in contact at global level. So we truly hope that also this session and the webinars we are having today will also have a lot of audience.
Excellent.
Just 3 more minutes, we will start this session. The topic we will develop today is the ecology of design, strong functional partnership and innovation with Professor Nicola Perullo from Gastronomic University of Pollenzo. And we will have Eurostampa and Peter Chamberlain from the Cincinnati University. Just 2 more minutes and we will start.
Thank you for moderating. I think you probably have many complicated tasks.
Yes, but let's say that our team is working very efficiently. So we have been able to solve all the inconvenience that you might have when you are connecting people from every remote place of the world. So so far everything went very well.
Good.
2 minutes and we start, guys.
Yeah, I do appreciate you moderating. It's from a technical coordination standpoint, it takes a lot of pressure off of us as the participants to just be able to speak freely and not worry about too much.
But it's not my job, and I do it with a lot of pleasure. But even if I have already introduced, 30, 40 webinars in the last 24 hours, I still feel the pressure because I don't think to be very skilled, but I'm having fun, let's say. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Stefano Pistoni from UPM Raftac, and very happy to introduce you this fantastic section that will be moderated by Eurostampa. Before we start with the introduction of the excellent speakers we have today, I would like to share with you a few practicalities. First of all, we invite you to interact and engage with the speaker and ask all the questions that you might have. You can easily do it using the chat button that you find in the top right angle of your screen. And in case you would like to magnify the vision, we remind you there is the magnify button in the bottom right angle of your display. And the people that are attending to the audience will receive, the question that you will make will be answered at the end of this session. That will take in total roughly 40 minutes. After that, we will move to another webinar. And I also invite the audience to take a look to the pavilion and meet and engage with the Eurostampa people at their booth. So we are ready to start. I'm very happy to introduce to you Eurostampa. Eurostampa was founded in 1966 by Luciano Cillario. Is now a multinational company with factories and sales office all over the world. They have a production facility in Italy, UK, France, United States, and Mexico, and sales office in many other countries. So Eurostampa, we can say, is really a leader in their segment. Together with Andy Bateman from Eurostampa North America, we have today from the University of Cincinnati, Peter Chamberlain, and we have Professor Nicola Perullo from the University of Gastronomic Sciences of Pollenzo. I think we are ready to start. I'm happy to say, let's move on. Andy, it's your turn, please.
Thank you so much, Stefano. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're really excited to be presenting this this conversation. This format here is really exciting and new. A lot of new changes around our day-to-day lives over this year so far. You know, webinars are not necessarily a new technology, but they're becoming much more pervasive. So we really appreciate the opportunity to speak virtually and connect and try to espouse some of these ideas focused on the ecology of design. And we've got two great speakers, Professors Perullo and Chamberlain, from both sides of the headquarters of Eurostampa in Italy and in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we're certainly thrilled to join them. And I think really, I'd just like to thank both of you for joining us. And maybe what we could start off a little bit is just talking a little bit about yourselves and your respective institutions. I think the University of Gastronomic Sciences in Pollenzo is such a unique place, as is the University of Cincinnati. And for those who are unfamiliar with those institutions and your work there, I think it would be beneficial to touch on that a little bit on a high level. So we'll start with Professor Perullo. Thank you for joining us, Nicola. And if you could talk a little bit about sort of the philosophy of the school in Pollenzo to our guests today.
Yeah, hello, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation and for this really interesting moment of discussion about the ecology of design. I am a professor of aesthetics. I am a philosopher, a professor of aesthetics, and I mainly teach food philosophy and aesthetic of taste and gustatory perception, this kind of things. In this place, as you said, is quite unique. University of Gastronomic Sciences is a very small institution. We are the smallest university in Italy. It's just 500 students, and we have a very nice and very beautiful campus in the northwest of Italy. We are close to Turin, and we are very close to the, as you said, to the original, to the very first headquarters of Eurostampa, which is just 20 kilometers from the university. And this is why also how the partnership began between the university and Eurostampa, because it's really it's a kind of network of the local factories and local realities, because our university is private, and it was established in 2004 by different groups and people, but mainly by an idea of Carlo Petrini, the leader and the founder of Slow Food Organization. And the idea was to create a place, an institutional place, an academic place of study and research about food, but not just general terms food, but food with an eye and with sensibility toward biodiversity and sustainability. So we are a place in which we study and we host students that are interested in food under the lens of sustainability, ecology, and biodiversity. We have a very much international people, both of students and lecturers. So half of our students are not Italian, so it's a very international atmosphere, although very little, very small. And we study, as I told you, food from a broad and interdisciplinary perspective. From hard sciences, we have chemistry, biology, microbiology, to humanities like philosophy, history, sociology, anthropology. So we are not devoted to design in particular, even if in some master's programs we have some courses of food design, but this is not our main goal. The goal is to educate people to consider food as a very important cultural value under the lens of sustainability and biodiversity. So this is how we approach also this cooperation with Eurostampa, and we will speak about this later maybe.
Thank you so much. And I know we've got, I'm working here in Cincinnati with an alumnus of the school, and I've really come to appreciate the sort of holistic view of the school in general. There he is right there, Armano. It's quite the program in terms of looking at things from a large scale holistic view, but when you're talking about doing it on such a small scale, you're able to get into the details as well. So there's quite a cool layer of different scope from a macro and micro level. So I think it's quite the program, and I'm certainly appreciative of the partnership. In such that it has inspired us here in Cincinnati to seek out a similar university partnership with another close neighbor, the University of Cincinnati. So while the schools and the size and maybe the history are different in different scales, I think the partnership and having that diversive group of partners really lends itself to great collaboration. So Peter Chamberlain, if you could discuss a little bit about not just the University of Cincinnati, but specifically the design school, and a little bit about sort of the philosophy and the concepts that exist there.
Sure, thank you, Andy. I'm also very happy to be a part of the program today, and what a great event, and so happy that you have so many people who have been joining. Absolutely, the University of Cincinnati is quite different than the University of Gastronomic Sciences. We're about 45,000 students, and we have about 130 undergraduate programs. And so it's a big campus, and sort of a microcosm of everything that's out there. On the corner of this big campus sits our college that our schools are in, and that's the School of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. And we're about 2,500 students in DAAP is the acronym that we use. We are internationally recognized as having top design programs, and I'm in the School of Design and particularly industrial design. And the industrial design program is usually top 3 nationally, and a super strong performing program. Packaging design doesn't really live anywhere, so to speak, in DAAP, in our college. Usually for packaging design, you would have engineering programs going after packaging design, and you would have graphic design programs going after packaging design. Neither is really the case at the University of Cincinnati. The focus on packaging design and on branding is sort of shared between industrial design and graphic design. And this creates a very interesting situation in that the entirety of our DAAP college is deeply centered in user-centered design. That is really understanding the aspirations and the inclinations, as well as some of the harder sort of factual things like human factors, ergonomics, things like this. Of course, aesthetics, but really focusing on that user to understand where pain points are, where things can be improved, and where design can optimize any kind of situation. However, very importantly, we are also very holistic in our approach. And I think this is actually very key in some ways to our partnership with Eurostampa. In the fact that if you were to go to Eurostampa in Cincinnati, you would see that they have design offices, but right there they have a manufacturing site as well. And this wonderful interplay of the understanding of the materiality and the process of manufacturing and all of those rich sort of considerations in the design. And then you mix in the user-centered focus, it becomes the whole picture. And for us, that's what our packaging design course tends to focus on, that holistic view that's industry relevant. As our students, I didn't mention, but our co-op program, which is our internship program, is a huge piece of the puzzle. Our students are required across 5 years in our programs to go out into industry for 5 individual 15-week-long internships, paid internships, and they're not allowed to graduate unless they do this. So 75 weeks of professional experience upon graduating. So this, of course, makes our programs all very, real in terms of, no one ever says to us in the real world when you get out of school, because our students are already in a lot of ways quite informed and perhaps more than people who have been in the real world. So that is the backdrop. We're very connected to this holistic approach. And so this partnership and the projects that we've been involved in through Eurostampa and the University of Gastronomic Sciences have been wonderful, because they've really, and we'll go into this in a moment, but they've really allowed us to think holistically and sort of flex our muscles there.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great segue to the projects that originated in Italy over maybe 2 or 3, probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago was when the original idea kind of was conceived. And what is interesting about it is both of the universities put their students through cross-functional experiences, understanding different aspects with the co-op program. I'm sure the University of Gastronomic Sciences has lots of study abroad programs and different, especially being in Italy, where they can literally drive in one day and see so many different aspects of food production, whether that's on a really small local scale or on the big industrialized scale. You can see it from every angle, and that's obviously a big part of the experience for the students there. So this idea of cross-functional collaboration between students and industry and even societal themes has been embodied by this project, which was developed first in Italy, and now we've worked to collaborate and bring on board our friends at the University of Cincinnati. So Professor Perullo, can you describe a little bit about the genesis of the idea of our project, our envelope project, from a societal and food sciences perspective, and how that has really informed a lot of sort of our students' experiences as they engage with a company like Eurostampa, but also engage with the other industries that they have experienced.
Yeah, we have been again, we are not technicians and we are not specialists in specific fields of food industry like food technology or food design. So, but because of that, we have been asked through the years by different companies, by industry, to give a peculiar look and peculiar perspective on some issues that, because we are a little bit marginal with respect to specialized fields, sometimes we can bring a fresh look, the look of someone that is maybe more naive or less specific. So we have been, for example, engaged in projects about food passion, about how to communicate the affective values, the traditional and historical values of food to people. And this is the atmosphere in which also this project has been developed through the years, because of course Eurostampa knows very well us and our students also, because we are quite unique in the world. So we attracted students from very different backgrounds. Because of course we have undergraduate program, students that come from high school, but we have a lot of students that follow our graduate or master programs. So they come from all over the world, and sometimes they have already kind of professional backgrounds, from computer engineering to theology and philosophy. So we have students that come from all these different backgrounds. And the idea to put all this diversity focus on food, it's very interesting because everyone brings a different look, a different sensibility. And so when we first developed at the beginning, it was, I think, more than, it was 6 or 7 years ago, the very first edition of the collaboration between the University of Gastronomic Sciences and Eurostampa. It was for a concept of wine labels that was created through the idea of the peasants' calendar in the Langhe, in the region in which we are based. So it was the idea to create a storytelling through the labels, a series of wine labels, to express the importance of the farmer's life through the calendar, to the seasonality of the calendar, summer, winter, fall. So students worked on this. It was the first edition. Then every year we found a different theme, a different topic, and it was not always strictly related to food. Of course, our students, they normally try to find food connections, but not always. It hasn't been like that every time. This year, for example, it was about Africa, and some students took the theme from a more spiritual point of view, energetic point of view, and they made some drawings that was not related directly to food. So what is peculiar to us, what we try to give to the project, what we try to offer to Eurostampa is the energy of creativity that is moved by food affection, food enthusiasts, but people that are also enthusiastic about life, about biodiversity, about kinship, about connection. So we have very engaged students. It's not just a university with students that come to find a job, which is very important, of course, but it's a university where students come because they want to give a contribution to change the world, to make the world better. So this is, of course, quite ambitious, and also it may seem a little bit sometimes presumptuous, but in most of the case, it is interesting because it opens up to an energetic flow that students put in these efforts. So what they do in this project through the years, we see maybe they are not perfect under the technical point of view. They need to be edited by more skillful people in design. The drawings are quite raw, but sometimes they have this authenticity in terms of trying to communicate the possibility to make the world a better place. And often food is a mean. It's a mean to make this. It's a tool to make this contribution. So this is how we normally intend the project. And so to develop the creativity in our students, and they're very happy to work into this field. We have a program, a master program that is called Creativity, Ecology, and Education in gastronomy. And I think that these three keywords encompass very well the spirit of the university. Creativity in a very huge sense, not just art, can be also creative economy, creativity, thinking in sustainability, ecology, and education. These are very important words for us, and this is how we approach the project.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think for sure, one of the things that we'll touch on a little bit later are the ideas that these students come up with, in the sense they really reflect some of the society's views on food, on culture, on what they want from products. So I think some of the things like the storytelling that you mentioned, or understanding the local economy, the story of the actual producer, the men and women that are out there working their life's work to provide a product for consumption. There's beauty in that, and the students at the University of Gastronomic Sciences in Palenzo are really able to tap into that as part of their education, but also the way that they can present it to the world. I think I'll ask Professor Chamberlain a little bit about how these concepts are adapted from a creative design perspective. And specifically, I think what's interesting is Professor Perullo talked about what the students bring to our project. But I wonder, from your perspective, Professor Chamberlain, what does the project bring to the students at DAAP, where they have such a fine, refined skill set of learning how to design, or how to think towards human utility and the user experience? What does this project, where they're thinking about high-minded ideals and large-scale societal themes, how does that help sort of frame their thinking in these projects?
Well, certainly. First of all, I really, really love to hear terms like food affection, and things like this. It's so passionate. The passion piece to all of this is so very important. And I would say that the goal of making a positive contribution is very strong within both of our very different institutions. And I think it's wonderful to hear young people be so positive and want to affect change in a contributive way. And our design students, that they live and they breathe that, and that's why they would do something like stay up all night and work on a design project or something. But I think that for the students who have been participants in the Eurostampa workshops and in collaboration with the University of Gastronomic Sciences, it's very interesting, first of all, to be partnering with an institution that's very different than us. And, I had a couple of students say, so that university is just, it's about food? I said, yes, wonderfully so, and focused on that. But as Professor Perullo has said, it's not just food on your plate. It's this, the wider ramifications of food societally. And so I think that for our students who are, I certainly don't mean to say that they're only looking at technical aspects of what is the substrate and what is, how many numbers are going to be produced and things like that. We definitely, as I said, are very deeply user-centered, but to focus in on broad topics, such as, women and their positive effect on the world, on global society, and these big titles that we've been working with, that one, for example, is a wonderful opportunity for our students to take a step back from the drawing board a little bit and to consider what that really is as a whole. I think that one of the things that Professor Perullo mentioned that really resonates with me is this sense of sort of naive approach, and not in any negative sense, a naive approach to a problem, and maybe even a problem that's an industry or a societal problem. Our students have this sort of, we use the term naive innovation sometimes, and again, in a positive way. They aren't afraid to challenge and to ask the hard questions, and they don't fear bouncing off of limits or something like that, the way that somebody in a corporation might, or somebody who's in a different construct of society. So, for our students, back to your original question, the students find this project, I believe, to be a bit of a pool of very comfortable water in which to swim and explore these broad societal concepts, where they're usually not approaching topics in their design studies that are broad like that they have to try to start from zero really and make sense of, and then cordon off some area to dig in. So I think that for our students has been a little bit atypical to their usual experience, and has been very beneficial to them as a result.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. I'm getting just a note from our gracious host that our time is running short. So I think I'll quickly wrap this up. But I just would like to ask a quick question of each of you, really, because just one final question. One of the things that we're noticing in this new economy is this fact that that consumers are tending to change a little bit their behavior. Some of the things that they're looking to do, specifically from a report we saw, 69% of consumers are choosing brands that they know and trust. So this is good news for your established brands, but it's also challenging for folks that are looking to break through or to offer some kind of differentiation from the large scale status quo, some of those larger brands. So that concept of trust, reputation, authenticity in a product, food or packaging, these things are means to communicate that. So I wonder, what does that mean? And maybe I'll ask Professor Perullo, what does it mean to trust in a food product, right? In a beverage, in a spirit? What does that look like from a consumer and brand perspective? And then I'll flip the question to Professor Chamberlain about packaging. How can packaging help to communicate that those things? So if we can just take maybe a minute. I know it's a big question. But Professor Perullo, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really big and complicated question, and just to let you know, there is a project now. We are entering into a project, a big European project. We hope to take the grant with other university like University of Turin, that is about food trust and reliability, and because it's really the big issue. What does it mean to trust, and what does it mean to, in our field of food, to be reliable and to be considered as authentic. It's really there are many factors. There is not just one thing. There are many different elements for reliability and trust. I can mention the history of the brand. I can mention the representation of the brand in terms of a honest story. I can also mention the nutritional facts, but they have less importance for trust. There are really many different factors. I hope that in the future we can discuss this again in depth, also with some elements that we are going to explore through this big project that we are working on at the moment.
Thank you. And Professor Chamberlain?
Yes. What a really interesting time to be having a conversation around, well, anything, but in particular packaging. And trust right now is being challenged, I think, in a lot of ways. And I think that, for example, on personal level, as I wipe all of my groceries and my products that I bought with sanitizing wipes before I bring them into my home, or I'm shopping in an aisle where I might spend time shopping for bourbon, I was the other day, and trying to very quickly get out of the aisle and not be around too many other people. Of course, I'm not going to spend as much time as usual lingering to maybe notice new brands, to maybe notice new players. And I went for, in the end, my go-to brand. So I think that right now, there are so many variables that are in this challenge that we're in. I would always want to look for the silver lining on the cloud, the COVID-19 cloud. I think that there are some things that hopefully can spin positively out of this in terms of learning. The wine and spirits industry as a whole certainly has to respond to things like people bulk buying now, people going for larger volume boxes as opposed to bottles. Of course, there's just in that change in materiality, there's a huge conversation around authenticity and there between glass and a plastic bladder inside of some paperboard material. So many challenges right now. I think that the best thing to do is to understand as best we can what the future looks like and try to position for that. I'm excited about that because I want to stay positive. I'm excited about the materiality, of course, as it combines with people's inclinations and aspirations, but microbial materials, things like that. How do those materials support the kind of authenticity that something like glass, for example, would? So I think it's not a wonderful impetus for thinking on this, but I think it's an exciting future down the road as a result to try to respond to all these societal things.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank both of you for your time today. I'm really encouraged by the opportunity we've had today to speak and connect, and always a pleasure to talk a little bit about these projects that we're working together on and the work that each of you are doing at your own respective institutions. It's really encouraging. I know personally, having experienced from some students co-oping at our facility here, these young folks are full of so many great concepts, so many great ideas. So it is exciting because they're the ones that are going to be dictating the changes and leading in many ways the way that we move forward, both from a food and consumption as well as packaging. So again, Professors Perullo and Chamberlain, thank you again, and thanks to our event organizers for putting this together. We absolutely appreciate it, and we're available for any questions at our stand back at the pavilion for any more follow-up. So thank you, everyone. We have really appreciated our time today.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.